You were never meant to spend your entire day thinking. Your mind wasn't built to run like a machine, buzzing, calculating, worrying, replaying the same moments again and again. Yet that's exactly how most people live now, trapped inside a mind that never quiets down. We overanalyze conversations long after they're done. We rehearse disasters that will never happen. We carry problems for days before they even show up. And slowly, without realizing it, we lose clarity, confidence, and peace. The Stoics recognized this thousands of years ago. They taught, it's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them, meaning it's not life that drains you, it's the uncontrolled, undisciplined thinking about life. Today we're exploring 7 powerful Stoic principles that explain why you were never designed to think non-stop, and how thinking less can make you stronger, calmer, and far more effective. Take a breath. Let's begin. 1. The mind was never created for continuous thinking. Your mind is powerful, but it isn't invincible. One of the biggest myths of the modern world is that more thinking means more control, more intelligence, more success. But in reality, the human mind was never meant to run 24/7. It was made to observe, choose, act, and then rest. Anything outside that natural cycle turns your mind against you. Think about early humans for a moment. They didn't sit around overthinking every possibility, replaying conversations, or imagining 50 different future crises. Their minds were sharp, focused, and present because survival required clarity, not mental chaos. But today, we flood our minds with endless noise, notifications, opinions, fears, judgments, comparisons, until the brain becomes overloaded. And when the mind is overloaded, it doesn't get stronger, it gets louder, it gets foggy, it gets weaker. This is why Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The mind adapts and converts every obstacle to its own purposes." But the mind can't adapt to anything when it's drowning in constant noise. A chaotic mind doesn't transform obstacles, it collapses under them. Overthinking throws you into a destructive cycle. You think because you're anxious, but the more you think, the more anxious you become. You end up fighting thoughts with more thoughts, using a tool in the exact way it wasn't meant to be used. Imagine holding a sword and swinging it non-stop for hours. Even the strongest warrior's arm would fail. The sword isn't the problem, the misuse is. Your mind is the same. Thinking isn't the enemy, but non-stop thinking is mental exhaustion disguised as productivity. Here's a truth most people never hear. A busy mind isn't a strong mind. A clear mind is. Clarity comes from silence, space, stillness, not from constant mental noise. This is why many of your best ideas appear in the shower, on a walk, or during quiet moments. When the mind finally gets a break, it can function the way it was designed to. Stoicism teaches that a disciplined mind is a selectively active mind. Not a mind that thinks about everything, but a mind that thinks about the right things at the right time in the right amount. The Stoics didn't aim to stop thinking. They aimed to direct it. They used the mind as a tool, not as a prison. They paused before reacting. They filtered what deserved attention and what didn't. They understood that mental strength comes not from overuse, but from intentional use. So the next time your thoughts start spiraling, remember this. You're not failing. You're simply misusing your mind. It's asking for a pause. It wants to return to its natural rhythm. Because the mind was never made to think all day. It was made to think well. 2. Overthinking creates problems that don't exist. Most of the pain you experience in life doesn't come from real events. It comes from your imagination, from the stories your mind invents, exaggerates, and replays endlessly. Seneca said it perfectly. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. And if you've ever fallen into overthinking, you know exactly how true that is. When the mind has no real danger to handle, it creates imaginary danger to fill the space. It imagines worst-case scenarios. It replays the past as if it's happening again. It projects fears into the future as if they're guaranteed. None of these things exist, yet your mind responds as if they do. Think about how often this happens. You read a text with no emoji and suddenly think someone is upset with you. You replay a conversation from yesterday and convince yourself they judged you. You worry about a future meeting and start feeling embarrassed before it even begins. This is the trap of overthinking. You're not reacting to reality. You're reacting to a story your mind created, a story that might have no connection to the truth. When left unsupervised, the mind becomes a storyteller, and not a good one. It leans toward drama, insecurity, fear, and exaggeration. It assumes the worst because the worst feels safer to prepare for. But preparing for pain that hasn't happened is simply self-inflicted suffering. Stoicism teaches that the mind will always drift unless you guide it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts," meaning the more imaginary disasters you paint in your mind, the more you live as if they're real. Overthinking is painting your entire life with the darkest shades possible. But here's the truth. Most of the things you fear will never happen. Most of the things you replay don't matter anymore. Most of the things you imagine have no evidence. You're fighting shadows. You're arguing with ghosts. You're suffering from events that haven't even occurred. And even worse, while your mind is trapped in these imaginary battles, you miss the real moment happening right in front of you. You miss opportunities, clarity, connection, peace. So how do Stoics break this cycle? They question their thoughts the moment they appear. They ask, is this happening or am I imagining it? Do I have facts or am I creating fear? Stoicism is the discipline of separating what is real from what is imagined. Once you master this, your suffering drops instantly, because most of it was never real to begin with. So when your mind starts spinning, pause and ask yourself, is this actually happening? Or is this just my imagination trying to protect me? The truth is simple. Your life becomes lighter the moment you stop fighting battles that don't exist. 3. Thinking too much weakens your ability to act. Here's something most people never realize. The more you think, the less you do. And the less you do, the weaker you become. Overthinking doesn't stay in your mind. It slowly destroys your ability to act. It turns decisions into dilemmas, simple tasks into struggles, and opportunities into threats. Instead of moving forward, you get stuck in a loop. Should I do this? What if I fail? What if I look foolish? What if it goes wrong? What if it goes right? What if? What if? What if? By the time you finish thinking, the moment has already passed. The Stoics called this paralysis by analysis. It's not that you're incapable. It's that you drained your strength before taking a single step. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be willing to be thought foolish and stupid." Meaning, if you wait until you feel perfectly ready, confident, or informed, you'll never act. Life will move forward without you. Action creates clarity. Action builds courage. Action sharpens judgment, not thinking. Yet most people try to think their way into confidence, as if more thinking will somehow remove fear. But fear only weakens when you move toward it, not when you sit analyzing it. Think of the times you finally took action after overthinking for days, weeks, or months. Was the fear real? Or was the anticipation worse than the reality? That's the cost of overthinking. You live the pain twice, first in your mind, then in real life. The Stoics refused to suffer the first half. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. be one. In other words, stop thinking about it, do it. Because the moment you act, something powerful happens. Your mind quiets, your doubt shrinks, your fear loses fuel, and suddenly you become stronger than you expected. Action is the antidote to overthinking. It shifts your mind from what if to what now. It turns anxiety into momentum. It transforms hesitation into identity. The people who act, who decide, who move, become confident not because they never feel fear, but because they refuse to let overthinking steal their life. So remember this Stoic truth. You don't think your way into strength. You act your way into strength. Every decisive step lowers the noise in your head. Every move forward trains your mind toward clarity. And every action you take, no matter how small, is a win against overthinking. 4. Excess thinking pulls you away from the present moment. When you think too much, you stop living the moment you're actually in. Your body may be here, but your mind is somewhere else, stuck in yesterday or worried about tomorrow, lost in 100 imagined scenarios that never actually happen. And here's the real tragedy. You can't feel peace, clarity, or joy anywhere except the present moment. But overthinking keeps pulling you out of it again and again, like a riptide dragging you away from the shore. You've felt this before. You sit at dinner with someone you care about, but your mind is replaying something from earlier. You step outside on a beautiful day, but you're stuck worrying about next week. You try to relax, but your thoughts refuse to slow down. You aren't living, you're mentally traveling through time. And while your mind drifts, your life quietly slips by. The Stoics warned about this constantly. Marcus Aurelius said, "Remain with the present." Not because the future is meaningless, but because obsessing over it never changes it. Only your actions in the present do. Overthinking is what happens when the mind refuses to let the moment speak for itself. It replaces what is with what if. And the more time you spend in what if, the further you drift from reality. Psychologists call it cognitive drifting. The Stoics called it losing the moment. The result is the same. Life feels blurry. You get overwhelmed easily. Everything appears heavier than it actually is. Why? Because you're living in a world created by your thoughts, instead of the world you're actually in. And when you abandon the present, you lose your clarity, your inner balance, your connection to others, your sense of control, your ability to respond effectively. Overthinking isn't just thinking a lot. It's escaping reality without even noticing it. But the truth is simple. Reality is always easier to face than the fears you invent about it. The present moment, even when imperfect, is always less intimidating than the future your mind exaggerates. That's why the Stoics trained themselves to return to the now. Whenever their mind drifted, they gently pulled it back. Not with force, but with awareness. A quiet reminder. I'm leaving the present. Come back. Try it. Catch yourself when you begin spiraling into the future or drowning in the past. Feel your breath. Feel the ground. Feel the moment you're in, because it's the only place you actually have power. The Stoics taught that the present is your anchor. Everything outside of it is just noise. So learn to return to it again and again, because excessive thinking doesn't just drain you, it steals the life you're supposed to be living right now. 5. Overthinking makes you emotionally fragile. There's a hidden cost of overthinking that most people never recognize until it becomes too heavy. The more you analyze, the more emotionally fragile you become. When your mind constantly compares, imagines, interprets, and replays, your nervous system stays on edge. Every minor comment feels personal. Every silence feels threatening. Every delay feels like rejection. Every small issue feels like a crisis. You don't become fragile because life is hard. You become fragile because you're mentally exhausted before life even begins. Overthinking makes your emotional world thin and unstable. Why? Because when you think excessively, you turn simple events into emotional threats. You overread everything. You fill in blanks that were never supposed to be filled. You attach meaning where no meaning exists. Someone doesn't reply. Your mind creates a story. They're upset. Something's wrong. I did something wrong. Someone gives brief feedback. Your mind jumps to, they don't value me. I failed. I'm not enough. Plans shift, and suddenly your mind screams, everything is falling apart. I can't handle this. In reality, nothing happened. Life gave you a neutral event. Your overthinking turned it into an attack. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus taught that it's not the thing itself that disturbs you, but the opinion you attach to it. Overthinkers live inside that opinion. They never experience the event, only their emotional version of it. And when your interpretation is always intense, your emotional stability collapses. You become reactive. You become anxious. You become sensitive in ways that drain your confidence and your peace. That's why people who think too much feel overwhelmed even by small responsibilities. Their mind magnifies everything. Their inner lens is tuned to threat instead of clarity. Think of emotional strength like a muscle. A muscle only works when it has the energy to lift. But if you exhaust it with unnecessary tension, even the lightest weight becomes difficult. Overthinking is that tension. It drains your emotional strength before you even face anything real. The answer isn't to suppress emotions. Stoicism never taught that. The answer is to discipline your perception, to slow down your interpretations, to question your thoughts before accepting them as reality. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly. Whenever he felt triggered or uneasy, he paused and asked, "Is this truly bad, or have I made it bad?" Most of the time, the truth was obvious. He had made it worse in his mind. Imagine the emotional freedom that comes from separating the event itself from the story you tell about it. Suddenly, a delayed message is simply a delayed message. A short remark is just a short remark. A small setback is nothing more than a small setback. Life feels lighter not because the world changed, but because you stopped intensifying everything with unnecessary thought. When you reduce overthinking, you reduce emotional fragility. You create space between stimulus and reaction, and in that space, you find strength, clarity, and maturity. Emotional resilience isn't built by controlling the world, it's built by controlling the story you tell yourself about it. 6. Overthinking comes from trying to control what isn't yours. At the core of overthinking lies one powerful illusion, the belief that if you think long enough, you can control everything, every outcome, every reaction, every possibility, every person, every future scenario. But you can't, and your mind knows it. That's why it keeps spinning. It's trying to solve a problem that has no solution. Overthinking isn't random, it's not accidental. It's a form of control addiction, the urge to force life into certainty. Think about how it begins. You worry about someone's opinion because you want to control how they see you. You replay a past mistake because you want to control something already finished. You fear the future because you want to control outcomes that aren't here yet. You overanalyze a conversation because you want to control how your words were received. In every case, the mind spirals when it leaves its own domain and tries to rule a world it does not own. Epictetus warned clearly, some things are up to us and some things are not. The moment your mind crosses into the territory of not up to us, it becomes chaotic, anxious, restless, and overwhelmed. The more you try to control what doesn't belong to you, the more your inner world suffers. Look at your own life. How many hours have you spent replaying something you cannot undo? How many nights have you stayed awake worrying about outcomes you cannot guarantee? How many times have you broken your own peace trying to manage reactions that were never yours to manage? That is the essence of overthinking, trying to control the uncontrollable. Here's the Stoic truth. The more you focus on what's outside your control, the less control you have over yourself. While you're busy micromanaging the world, you abandon the one thing you truly govern: your mind, your choices, your actions, your character. Your power shrinks the moment your attention drifts outward. It returns the moment you bring your focus home. Look at the great Stoics. Marcus Aurelius leading an empire, Epictetus living as a slave turned teacher, Seneca navigating politics and danger. All of them practiced the same mental discipline: return to what is yours, release what is not. When wronged, they acted where they could and let go of the rest. When facing uncertainty, they prepared wisely but did not torment themselves with imagined disasters. When life was harsh, they focused on character, not controlling fate. You become calmer the moment you stop forcing life to go your way. Stronger the moment you stop manipulating outcomes. Clearer the moment you shift from control to responsibility. A simple question can save you from countless hours of overthinking. Is this within my control? If yes, focus, act, take ownership. If no, release it. Step back. Protect your peace. This question is a razor cutting through mental noise. It restores your power by reminding you where it truly lies. Overthinking is not a thinking problem. It's a control problem. The solution isn't more thought, but less attachment. Let life be life. Let people be people. Let outcomes unfold. Your job is not to control everything. Your job is to control yourself. 7. The less you think, the more clearly you see. Here's the final truth, and perhaps the most important one. Clarity doesn't come from thinking more. It comes from thinking less. When the mind quiets, truth rises. When noise fades, perception sharpens. When thoughts stop racing, your intuition finally speaks. Overthinking clouds vision, makes small problems enormous, turns neutral events threatening, and drowns out your inner voice. A noisy mind doesn't see reality, it sees distortion. Imagine a glass of water. Stir it constantly and you can't see through it. Leave it still and the particles settle. The water becomes clear. Your mind works the same way. Constant worry, fear, judgment, and imagined scenarios stir it, making it hard to see your life clearly. But even a few seconds of stillness restores clarity. Insight emerges. You know what to do without forcing an answer. This is why the Stoics practiced intentional stillness every day, even amid chaos. Marcus Aurelius led armies, governed an empire, faced betrayal, illness, and war, yet he wrote about returning to inner quiet. Seneca warned that constant thought is a trap. The mind must be disciplined, not overstimulated. Epictetus taught that truth emerges only when the mind is free from unnecessary judgments. For the Stoics, stillness wasn't luxury, it was strategy. Wisdom lives in silence, not in the storm, not in noise, not in the endless mental chatter we mistake for intelligence. Think about the wisest people you know. Were they frantic, loud, over-explaining, over-analyzing, or were they calm, measured, able to pause before speaking, able to see the heart of a situation without drowning in details? Wisdom isn't noisy. Wisdom is precise, clean, quiet. And here's the irony. The moment you stop trying so hard to figure everything out, your mind figures it out. Answers you chased for months appear. Decisions that felt impossible become obvious. Problems that seemed overwhelming become solvable. Not because life changed, but because your mind cleared. Overthinking blurs vision. Stillness restores it. You can practice this in small but powerful ways. Take a silent walk with no phone. Sit for 2 minutes and observe your breath. Pause before reacting to anything emotionally charged. Pull your attention back from past and future into the moment you're in. These simple acts unclutter the mind, remove the fog, and give you access to your natural intelligence, the deeper, calmer, wiser you beneath all fear, stress, analysis, and imagination. That version of you already knows what to do. It just needs space to speak. Let your mind be quiet. Let clarity rise. The less you think, the more clearly you see. If you've made it this far, something inside you already understands. You were never meant to think endlessly. You were meant to think wisely. Over the last 7 parts, you've seen why constant thinking weakens you, drains your energy, fuels anxiety, distorts reality, and traps you in cycles of imagined fear. You've seen how it disconnects you from the present, makes you emotionally fragile, and pushes you to control what's never yours. And you've seen the deeper truth, clarity, strength, peace. They come not from thinking more, but from thinking better, cleaner, and with purpose. This is Stoic philosophy, not the absence of thought, but the discipline of thought. Not an empty mind, but a guided mind. One that knows when to observe, reflect, act, and be still. You don't need to shut your mind down forever. You don't need to silence every thought. You don't need to pretend life doesn't challenge you. What you need is space, a breath, a pause, a moment between you and your thoughts, where you can choose what enters and what leaves. Once you gain that space, you gain control. Once you gain control, you gain clarity. Once you gain clarity, you regain your life. Next time your mind spins, stop. Ask yourself, is this real or imagined? Is this within my control? Does this thought deserve my energy? You'll be amazed how quickly your world changes when you stop feeding draining thoughts and start feeding ones that strengthen you. This is how you build inner peace, emotional stability, and become unshakable. Your mind is powerful, but only when you are steering it. Choose clarity, presence, strength. Remember, you were never meant to think all the time. You were meant to live fully, bravely, and clearly.